Hey everyone, I'm Tanisha Coffey, aka the Lofty Entrepreneur, and this is the Lofty Entrepreneur Podcast. Thanks for joining me. As always, we're providing the best tips, tools, advice, and inspiration for aspiring and new entrepreneurs out there. So if you haven't already done so, click now to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Now, today we're back with more from trademark attorney and social media influencer Anna Skoumal. Last time we checked in with her to learn about her journey into entrepreneurship. If you haven't checked out that episode, go back and do it. Check it out. It's a great story. She gave some great tips in there about her journey and some things that you should be thinking about too. But today, we're going to tap into Anna's expertise into trademark law and maybe even pull some tips out from her on how to build a successful social media following because she is doing amazing. So grab a piece of paper and a pen and get ready to learn. Hi, Anna. Thanks for joining me today again.
Hi, thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited for this because I know that trademarks is something that people really don't think about when they first jump into their business. I think a lot of people, well, no, we have trouble even getting people to think about going ahead and setting up their LLC or some sort of legal entity. So yeah, the next phase would definitely be to go ahead and get those trademarks in place. So I really want to kind of dive into that, peel back, help people to understand it. So I know that a lot of people are confused when it comes to trademarks, trademarks versus copyrights. Can you go ahead and kind of break that down for us?
Sure, I'm going to also add in trademark versus copyright versus LLC, because these three are something that people are constantly getting confused, including other non-trademark attorneys. So copyrights are a different type of protection than trademarks. Copyrights protect works of art. This is literature, videos, photos. If you're a photographer, you take photos. If you are a painter and you're painting artwork, if you're a sculptor and you are building sculptures, copyrights can protect all of those works of art. And copyright protection is actually instantaneous. There are some nuances within that with the overcomplication of our industrial world now, but overall, copyrights are a lesser and different protection than trademarks. Trademarks protect brands. Anything that identifies your brand. So this could be your business name, your logo, your tagline or slogan. You can actually also trademark things like jingles and smells and colors. So we all know Tiffany blue, the UPS brown trucks, Louboutin red soles. I hope I'm saying Louboutin right. I've been told I don't, but you guys know all these very recognizable brand identifiers are trademarked. Even the Coca-Cola cursive script is trademarked. So anything that identifies your brand, you can protect it with a trademark. And not just protect it, you actually need a trademark if you want to own it. So for example, nobody can create a computer store called Apple because Apple already owns that brand. They have who knows how many trademarks, probably hundreds on all of their product names and descriptions. So your brand is really important as a business.
So
and trademark.
I want you to dive into that more because I've seen some of the content that you were putting out regarding that. And I think this is a concept, excuse me, this is a concept that we really need to drive home about ownership of your brand. People think about, I own a company, when they start a company, but let's go ahead and clarify when you actually own your brand, if you would.
Yes. So you can actually have a company called 12345 LLC, and that owns all of your different brands, what you're doing business as. So for example, if I was going to start a drink shop, a smoothie shop, and I was going to call it Anna's Smoothies or Anna's favorite smoothies, anything like that. I mean, I don't know if those are trademarkable yet. I haven't done the search and all of that. but those would be my brand names, and my LLC called 12345 LLC could own those. Your LLC name doesn't mean anything. If you are actually doing business, this means you're using that as your business or brand name. You have your domains, you have your social media. You may think that you own that brand, but you don't. And that means that every single day that you're on the internet where you have so much visibility, anybody in anywhere, in any state or overseas or in America, they can look at your brand, say, wow, that is such an amazing brand name on a smoothie store, and copy it, get a trademark for it, and then stop you from being able to use that brand anymore. So it's really scary.
Yeah, that's scary because people work so hard to build their brands. And I know that there's to me, there's kind of a balance, right? So, you know, I work with the new entrepreneurs a lot of times, and a lot of businesses, the reality is they fail. You know, they don't survive. Usually it's, you know, you're doing good if you make it past year one, or, you know, you're doing decent if you make it past year one, you're doing good if you make it to year three. And if you make it to year five, then you probably got something, you know? And so where in there, because I know in the ideal world, you would be doing your trademarking, like form the LLC, get your trademark. You would do all of your legal stuff, getting your business insurance. You would be doing all of that like right out the gate. But the reality is if I don't know, it would be hard for me to say to do that if the entrepreneur didn't have the disposable income to do it all and kind of, lose it all, if they didn't continue the business. So when you're advising clients, what do you advise? Because I know there is a certain time frame that it takes. It's not instantaneous like the copyright. It does take time to actually get that trademark. So where in a new entrepreneur's journey would you recommend that they get that, knowing that some are going to stay around and some are not?
That's such an important question. And trademarks take over a year to get. So it's a long-term thing. So this is not something that you are going to think about if this is a short-term business, if you just want to open a drop shipping store for a month and then shut it down. I mean, trademarks are not for you. So trademarks are, you know, a few $1,000s minimum, and they take over a year to get. So it's an investment of both time, effort, money, energy, all of that. So in an ideal world, every single entrepreneur would get everything trademarked right away, right when the day they get their LLC, they go get their brand name, they get their logo, they get their tagline. Those are the three common items to get trademarked. They would get all three of those trademarked right away. However, I understand that budget is a huge thing for new entrepreneurs. So the basics of a business, if you're actually already starting a business, so if you're more than a year in, or even if you've actually invested into your business in any way, such as in marketing, such as in inventory, then you should have filed for your trademark. The reason is because there really just isn't any point in building a brand that you don't own. You're building it for somebody else to take over. Your LLC, your permits, your trademarks are, you know, there's other things in the permits as well. There's licenses. It depends. That's very industry specific, the insurance, but your LLC and your required licenses, permits, all of that, plus trademarks, those are the three main legal prongs of a business. So the legal aspects of a business are not a luxury. They're a requirement. Owning a business is a luxury, but the legal portion of that business is not a luxury. You need them. Otherwise, you know, what's the point in having a business and building it for someone else? What's the point in having a business and having your state shut you down because you don't have a liquor license when you needed one? So all of the legal stuff is not something that can wait, and it is a requirement. Trademarks are tricky because there's not a lot of education out there with new entrepreneurs with trademarks. There are more people talking about LLCs than trademarks by far, but trademarks are equally as vital, different protection than LLCs. LLCs provide you with personal liability protection, and they help you financially stay separate from your business. So it's a different type of protection. Trademarks allow you to have ownership of your brand, and having a trademark means that your name is cleared and you're not infringing on other people's rights. There's also a risk of using a brand name that's not cleared, and you can actually be sued for infringement. This is illegal, and you can be sued for, 6-7 figures. It's not something to take lightly. It's definitely, you want to own your brand, but you also need to make sure you're not infringing on other people's rights, because that can shut you down really quick. The reason that I say that it's a requirement to get a trademark, at least your brand name at the very start, is because rebrand costs, even if you're a new business and you're only a couple months in, rebrand costs are upwards of 5-6 figures, even for a new business, to get all new marketing materials, to basically have rejected to have to build a new social media following. You can lose your social media accounts. You can lose your domain. Those are costs that are a lot more than a few $1,000s. Definitely, like, if you can't afford to get your LLC and your trademark, then you might need to just test out your business model more, because you don't want to be investing into a business that's going to fail. And yes, a lot of businesses fail. Like I said, trademarks are a long-term thing. Once you get your trademark, you have it forever. But that it's so important to get it early on. Every single business that we interact with on a daily basis, every fashion brand, Gucci, Amazon, even when they were very, very small, they, before anybody knew about them, within weeks of incorporating, they got their trademark. So it's something that is not as talked about, but every single brand that you and I interact with have a team of trademark attorneys on call. I know this because I used to be one of them, 24/7, and they fiercely protect their brand. You can't protect your brand if you don't even own your brand. You're probably infringing on someone's rights if you don't own it.
So let's talk about this. So you said that the process can take like a year, maybe more than a year, to actually get the trademark. So at what point in the process, let's quickly kind of just bullet point walk through the process. So they come to you, new company. Hey, Anna, I need a trademark. What are the steps to take, and what step, if any, in there are they protected? Like, are they protected as soon as they start filing, or is it not until, can you kind of answer those, dive into that?
Yeah, so bullet point by bullet point, really quick overview of the steps. The first thing, if you're a new entrepreneur and you go to a trademark attorney, they're going to do a clearance search. And then if your name comes back and nobody in your industry is using it, we then sit down and we talk about the strategy about what your application is going to cover. There's a lot of strategy that goes into the application. So if your clearance search comes back clear, then you can file the application. And if it doesn't, that your application is on file, you get a level of protection. Right now, Chinese applicants are flooding the US trademark system. It's a big problem. We can talk about the trade war, but that's a different topic for a different day. So the trademark process is actually being slowed down by Chinese applicants. This is incentivized by the Chinese government. And right now, the American government is doing what they can to speed up the process. They're hiring more people, but that clearance search is so important because trademarks are taking a long time right now to process. The government has a backlog. So if you try to DIY your trademark, or you go to an attorney who won't do a clearance search, you are putting yourself at a lot of risk, because you are gonna wait for a year. You could potentially get sued, all of that stuff. So you do the search, file the application, as long as the search comes back clear, and then it's about a year till you get your trademark. There's a lot of nuances that go into that, but that's the overview. So the search right now, because applications are delayed, is the most important step, which will be just as protective as actually filing your trademark. You want to go ahead and use your brand with assurances that you're not infringing on someone's rights, that's going to prevent that 5, 6, 7-figure lawsuit. And then filing your application gives you that, from that date, it's called the effective filing date, you get a level of protection.
Okay,
from
awesome.
that date on.
Awesome. So let's talk now about the people who are not in a place to go ahead and do that. I know with like copyrights, there's, they used to call it the poor man, the poor woman's copyright, years ago, where you could create something and like mail it to yourself. And supposedly that was supposed to kind of help to, set that effective date of, you creating that content. A little different with social media and everything. That's another conversation.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give someone who is not at a place right now where they have the capital, they need to be in business, they need to go ahead and start the business? So they obviously are rolling the dice. They're playing roulette here. They know that, yeah, I may be at risk. I may have to, if I do awesome and somebody else comes in and swoops it along before I can get this filed, then, my brand could be at risk. I have to kind of rebuild. That's, one of the big things that's risk. What advice would you give to them right now, things that they could do, maybe three or four things that they could do to mitigate that risk, to try to protect themselves as much as they can until they can actually go ahead and get that trademark filed?
So what I advise my clients whenever there is some sort of clearance search issue or there's a dispute going on where they may or may not get their trademark is, unfortunately, you really have to minimize your brand. This means minimize visibility. This means don't try to go viral all the time on social media. Don't try to grow your following. Minimize visibility to minimize risk. And I'm wearing my marketing cap as well when I'm saying this, because that's really difficult for businesses. But if you have to wait a few months to build up savings to get that capital, to get a trademark, then mitigate your risk. So hold off on getting promotional materials with your brand and logo all over them, because that's not actually yours. So that is my advice, to save costs when it comes to rebranding, because rebranding is, I understand, a massive expense and it's horrifying to have to go through. So preemptively mitigate those expenses. So if you have pamphlets, if you have uniforms, if you have merch with your logo and your name on it, don't do that right now. So basically minimize your brand. Don't build your brand, build your income. And when you have just a few $1,000s, get your brand secured. That's really the only advice that I can give on that.
So they could be still operating the business, but just don't start putting logos and brands and catchphrases everywhere. Save that for down the line and just focus on the revenue producing activities of your business. Like, you can still be out there, be on your YouTube, be on your social, but not a branded social. Maybe they're doing it under their name, or something a little more under the radar, that they, so you're protecting your brand, but basically not putting it out there, not putting that, whatever name you ultimately want to go with, and you not doing that yet. So it's like the precursor, kind of.
Exactly. So pretty much all my clients are in love with their brand. There's a story behind it. There's a reason that they are in love. They like it so much. And there's a reason they want to own it. Like a lot of business owners, right? You think a lot about the name of your business, and there's emotion and story behind it. So if you really like your brand and you know it's going to be your brand, even if you have to change your business model, even if you have to make adjustments to your business and your suppliers and all that, and you really want to own your brand, then keep mum. So this means don't go on social media, don't go in Clubhouse blabbing about it, don't tell your friends and family. I have had people who talk about their brand just to their coworkers or to their employees and had their brand stolen from them within minutes. So if you really want your brand, then get a trademark. And if you can't afford it yet, then keep hush hush.
Right.
If you don't care that much about it, then fine, you can, and you don't care about rebranding, which is the case sometimes, then build up your brand. That's fine. But if you really, really want to protect your brand, then don't expose it.
Right.
So build your income and worry about building your brand when you can afford to own it. It's
And put
kind
it,
of the
and,
harsh truth.
yeah, and put that on your, on your to-do list, because for a lot of entrepreneurs, like, they put off, some people don't form the LLC like we talked about before. They put that off. They just jump right into business. Some people, they'll go ahead and do that, but they don't go ahead and get the separate business bank account. They wait for whatever reason. Then there comes like the insurances and things like that. These are all things that are hugely important, but realistically, they're just tons of costs. And some people can't do that, even though they should. So for those of you out there who are not in a place to quite do those investments, they still need to be on your to-do list. Like, they need to be like social media, that pinned post, that thing that you're working towards. So while you're operating your business, you're saving up to do those things. That LLC, there's no reason for that. You need to at least do that, because
there's apps. I mean, your business, if your business is not able to produce the investments to actually legally protect your business within a few months, then you need to reevaluate your business plan and your financials.
Absolutely.
So
your audience.
I'm not talking like, oh, you can wait a year or two to not get a trademark. I'm saying, oh, if you need to get 2 coaching clients to save up $5,000 to get your trademark and to get your insurance, then wait 2 months before you launch your social media or Shopify or whatnot.
Right.
I'm not saying you can wait even 6 months. I'm saying that is like number one like I said, legal is not a luxury, it's a requirement for a business. Your business is a luxury.
Yeah. And I think these days, the thing about it is, when people want to start a business, everybody thinks they have to be on the internet, they have to be global, they have to be everywhere. But think about it. How many hundreds of years went by with people owning businesses before there was the internet and before there was social media? So there are ways to actually start a business and start getting clients and start getting income going old school, without having to be all over the internet, where you are exposing. Yes, it's great. Internet is absolutely wonderful for exposure when the time is right.
Yes.
But if you're starting out and you don't have all these things in place, then yeah, it's better to fly a little bit under the radar. And really, as a small business, people aren't going to be paying that much attention to you. But if you happen, not starting off, but as you grow your business, the whole point is they will know you, they will know your brand, they will know more. So it's just, you have to have that strategic plan in place, know what you're putting your money towards as you're bringing it in, and don't put it off, because it's just an expensive, dangerous game to play. Right? Would you agree?
Yes. And like you said, really know where you're putting your money towards, because I have personal friends who start businesses and they are buying designer bags, but they will not get a trademark. So you really need to understand, where are your priorities, and do you really not have money to get that LLC? Do you really not have money to get that license or insurance or permits that you need? So that's something to really think about. And as a small business, as an attorney who works with, a lot of small businesses, the biggest reason why small businesses fail are because they went into a business, they started their business without a financially viable business plan. So I always use this, and I'll do this example really quick, but if you're opening a jewelry store and you're selling each piece of jewelry for $10, but it takes you $6 to make that jewelry and it takes you $3 to ship it to your customer, you only have $1 of a profit margin. And that's not even paying the labor for making the jewelry, that's not paying for the packing supplies and all the other costs associated, your warehouse, all that. So if that is your business plan, I mean, just on a surface level, maybe that's going to fail. So you really need to start a business that's going to be financially viable. And that's huge. If you can do that, you're setting and you can follow all the proper protocols, then you're going to be successful. But if you treat your business like a joke by skipping out on the 3 basic legal prongs, I'm not saying that you need to spend $10,000 on custom drafted contracts where somebody is scrutinizing every single character and word, but you need the basics. So the best thing that you can do, and I don't do this, but there are attorneys out there, they offer bundles, they offer small business retainers. So find an attorney familiar with your industry, get your trademarks. It's probably a lot less than you think it is, but it doesn't have to be scary.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that you have to overthink. You should build these costs into your business financial plan.
It should be a non-negotiable.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. You have provided so much value. I cannot wait to share this with everybody. And those of you who are listening, we are speaking with Anna Skoumal. She is a trademark attorney, social media influencer. And right now, I would love for you to go ahead and share how people can get in touch with you. If you have, I know you mentioned about a particular package that you offer. Give a quick, let us know where we can find out more about that. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok. You can find me at Anna Skoumal. I think the link will be in the show notes and in the description. And I always have my current packages listed on Instagram. I also run specials sometimes for the holidays. So I just offer one trademark package, which allows me to do the clearance search and the strategy, and basically unlimited access to an attorney for the trademark application process. And I have a really good success rate. So this package encompasses everything I need from you as the client. You know, I need a lot of information from you as well, time investment. So this is a complete trademark application package that I offer. I also offer strategy sessions for small businesses, but I'm moving away from that. So that availability is really limited because I think, you know, I was just basically telling business owners what they needed to do that they already knew they needed. And then they just wanted me to reassure them. And you guys know what you need to do. You just got to do it.
Right, right. And on that, so if for those of you, you send them my way, you know, and I'll help them get them started with those things. I'll coach them through that. And then I'm going to send them to you to execute on these things that I'm telling them to do and that you've already told them to do that they didn't do. So
and first thing, we have to say this first thing before you speak to an attorney, before you go to a coach, before you go to an accountant, you need to have a business plan. This should be before you even think about talking to an attorney.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out to speak with me today. I've learned a lot. I hope everybody who's listening and watching has learned a lot as well. And I would definitely love to have you, you know, back on the show, kind of dive especially into the social media side of things, and, you know, protecting yourself on social and just and learning more about that. So I'm going to be reaching out. Hopefully you'll be up for that.
Absolutely. This is so much fun.
Great. Thank you. For those of you who are listening and watching today, if you haven't already done so, I need for you to subscribe. Why? So that you can keep up with me, keep up with people like Anna, and get all these great tips, tools, advice, and resources for you guys as new entrepreneurs. We are here to help you. The only way we can do that is if you keep up with us and then you reach out to us. Just want to say thanks again for joining us. I am Tanisha Coffey, aka the Lofty Entrepreneur, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.